There comes a point in every story when love no longer feels warm, feels heavy, like carrying someone else's expectations inside your chest. And silence, the thing you used to fear, suddenly feels like home. You used to chase connection. Now you chase peace. Because love in this generation has turned into performance. We perform affection for validation. We perform vulnerability for attention. And when the applause stops, we mistake silence for rejection. But here's the truth. Sometimes silence isn't loneliness. It's your soul finally exhaling. This video isn't about giving up on love. It's about understanding why modern love feels like a battlefield, why caring too much feels like drowning, and why detaching, though it looks cold, is often the beginning of power, clarity, and peace. We'll go through 10 psychological truths that explain why love feels heavy, and why silence, though painful, can become the most liberating experience of your life. Lesson 1. You confused intensity with connection. Psychology calls it limerence, the intoxicating obsession that mimics love. It's the dopamine rush when they text back, the panic when they don't. Feels spiritual, but it's actually neurological. Your brain becomes addicted to uncertainty, to the highs and lows that make you feel alive. But real connection isn't fire. It's gravity. It doesn't burn you, it grounds you. Carl Jung once said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But when the reaction only transforms you, you've mistaken chemistry for connection. That's why love feels heavy. You're trying to hold together something that was never stable." Effective affirmation. You don't need to chase intensity to prove your heart is real. Peaceful love is not boring. It's secure. And security is what the wounded often mistake for emptiness. Lesson 2. You learned love through survival, not safety. Many people grew up in homes where love meant walking on eggshells, where affection was earned, not given. So as adults, we fall for the same chaos, because it feels familiar. Robert Greene writes, "The human animal cannot simply love. We must struggle, desire, and yearn. We confuse emotional turbulence with depth. We think if it's not complicated, it's not real. But that's just the echo of childhood. We learned that love comes with conditions, that safety feels suspicious, that peace means abandonment is coming. So when someone offers calm energy, we self-sabotage. Because calm doesn't fit our definition of love. Pain does. That's why you stay in heavy relationships. Not because you're weak, but because your nervous system calls it home. Effective affirmation. You're not hard to love. You just learned love in a hard way. Peace will feel strange at first, but don't run. It's not danger. It's healing. And this is where the shift begins. Because once you see that love and chaos are not the same, you start to crave silence not as an escape, but as a reset. Silence becomes sacred. You begin to realize that distance isn't rejection. It's protection. Lesson 3. Silence isn't emptiness. It's integration. When everything goes quiet after heartbreak, most people rush to fill the silence. With noise, with people, with distractions. But silence is where your mind finally catches up with your heart. It's where healing starts sounding like stillness. Lesson 3. Silence isn't emptiness. It's integration. After heartbreak, people rush to fill the silence. They chase new faces, new conversations, new noise. Anything to drown out the ache. But silence isn't punishment. It's the body's way of processing what your mind refuses to admit. In psychology, this phase is called integration. When your nervous system finally stops bracing for the next emotional blow. It's uncomfortable, yes, but that discomfort is healing in disguise. Machiavelli once wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. The fool fills silence with distraction. The wise one sits in it, listens to it, lets it break him open. Because he knows the storm must end before clarity begins. So when love feels heavy, don't rush to move on. Let silence become your teacher." Effective affirmation. It's okay to rest in the quiet. You're not lost, you're recalibrating. Your silence is not weakness. It's strength learning to breathe. Lesson 4. The heavier the love, the lighter the self-esteem. Let's be brutally honest. The reason love feels heavy isn't just because they were hard to love. It's because deep down you believed you had to earn love. When self-worth is wounded, you start bargaining with affection. You tolerate disrespect. You over-explain your worth to people who never cared to see it. You turn love into a project, and pain into proof that you're loyal. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Every heavy relationship you've had wasn't fate. It was your subconscious trying to heal an old wound. By repeating it in a new form, you weren't addicted to them. You were addicted to trying to fix what they represented. And so love became labor. You confused effort with value. And silence, once terrifying, started to feel like a relief. Effective affirmation. You don't have to earn peace. You don't have to prove your worth through pain. The right love will never make you beg for rest. Lesson 5. Emotional weight is a mirror, not a curse. When love becomes heavy, most people blame the other person. But the weight often reveals what still lives inside you. Maybe it's abandonment. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's the fear that if you stop trying, they'll leave. And that leaving will confirm the story you've told yourself your whole life. That you're not enough. But that's a story, not the truth. Robert Greene writes in The Laws of Human Nature, "When you cannot control your emotions, you are at the mercy of those who can." The heaviness you feel in love isn't punishment. It's feedback. It's your emotions asking for boundaries. It's your intuition whispering, "You've been carrying too much that wasn't yours." So the silence that follows heartbreak, that's your life rebalancing itself. It's you dropping the emotional armor that love once demanded. Effective affirmation. You are not broken for needing rest. Silence is your soul's way of saying, "I'm finally done fighting battles that were never mine." And slowly, as silence grows, you begin to hear something you've ignored for years. Your own voice. First, it's fragile. Then it becomes steady. Then powerful. And that's when the paradox reveals itself. You feared silence would make you lonely, but it actually made you whole. Lesson 6. Detachment is the final stage of love, not the absence of it. True detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop controlling. It's love without dependency, care without collapse. It's when you realize you can love someone deeply and still choose peace over pain. Lesson 6. Detachment is the final stage of love, not the absence of it. Most people misunderstand detachment. They think it means not feeling, not caring, becoming cold. But real detachment isn't emotional death. It's emotional mastery. When you detach, you stop trying to control what's outside you. You stop begging for closure. You stop auditioning for love that must constantly be earned. You no longer ask, "Why didn't they choose me?" You start asking, "Why did I need their choice to feel worthy?" That's power. Machiavelli once said, "He who controls himself controls the world." Detachment isn't indifference. It's clarity. It's the ability to care from a distance, to love without losing yourself in the process. It's when love shifts from grasping to grace. You no longer drown in emotions. You surf them. You stop chasing validation and start generating peace. Effective affirmation. You can still love and let go. You can care without clinging. Your peace is proof that your heart has evolved, not emptied. Lesson 7. Silence builds power that words can't. We live in an era where everyone is talking, but almost no one is listening. People argue to win, not to understand. They post to be seen, not to connect. And in that noise, silence becomes magnetic. When you withdraw from chaos, people feel it. Your absence becomes louder than their noise. Robert Greene said, "Power is essentially amoral. It's a game. And in that game, silence is one of your greatest weapons. Silence is strategy. Keeps people guessing. It makes your energy rare, and rarity creates value. When you no longer react to everything that tries to provoke you, you stop being predictable. You stop being manipulated. You start leading. And in relationships, that power isn't about domination. It's about emotional sovereignty. When you can sit in silence while others demand a reaction, you've already won. Effective affirmation. You don't owe explanations to those who misunderstand your peace. Your silence is your statement. Your calm is your crown. Lesson 8. Emotional alchemy. Turning pain into power. Every heartbreak, every disappointment, every betrayal, it's raw energy. Most people waste it through bitterness or revenge. But the few who rise turn that pain into discipline, art, or purpose. Jung called this process shadow integration. It's when you stop rejecting the dark parts of yourself and instead learn from them. You stop saying, "I wish I never loved them," and start saying, "Because I loved them, I now understand myself." That's emotional alchemy, transforming suffering into insight. That's how warriors become sages, how heartbreak becomes self-respect, how endings become rebirth. Look at Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor. He lost children, friends, and his wife. Yet instead of collapsing, he wrote in Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He turned grief into wisdom. He used silence not to escape, but to strengthen. And that's your path too. Effective affirmation. Nothing you've lost was wasted. Every wound has shaped your perception. Your pain didn't destroy you, it refined you. And now, as silence settles and your energy shifts, something inside you begins to change. The same love that once felt heavy now feels sacred. The same quiet that once felt lonely now feels divine. Because the truth is, you never really wanted love. You wanted peace. And love was just the language you used to ask for it. Lesson 9. The return of self, finding home within. When you stop chasing what drains you, you rediscover who you were before you started performing for love. That's the beginning of freedom. Lesson 9. The return of self, finding home within. When the noise fades and the people you once depended on are gone, you meet someone you've ignored for years, yourself. At first, it's uncomfortable. You realize how long you've been outsourcing love. How often you've confused being needed with being valued. But solitude is not emptiness. It's a mirror. It shows you what's real and what was just noise. You begin to see that peace isn't something you find in another person. It's what returns when you stop betraying yourself for connection. Jung once wrote, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." And that's what silence does. It wakes you up. You start noticing things again. The rhythm of your breath, the calm in your chest, the voice that says, "You're okay even without them." Because when love leaves, identity returns. And what felt like loss becomes liberation. Effective affirmation. You are not your heartbreak. You are what remains after the storm. You are your own home, your own peace, your own return. Lesson 10. Emotional maturity means loving without attachment. We often think maturity means becoming colder, sharper, harder to reach. But true emotional maturity is the opposite. It's being able to love deeply without losing yourself. It's being able to say, "I love you, but I will not destroy myself for you." You stop needing constant reassurance. You stop interpreting silence as rejection. Because you've learned that real love flows freely. It doesn't demand proof, it doesn't punish peace. Machiavelli said, "He who is able to see the invisible is able to do the impossible." Emotional maturity is that invisible strength. It's not in your reactions. It's in your restraint. It's when you can stand in front of chaos and remain calm. When you can choose grace over ego, distance over drama. Because you've learned that not every love story is meant to be permanent. Some exist only to evolve you. Effective affirmation. You can love and still walk away. You can forgive without returning. Maturity is peace disguised as silence. Lesson 11. The power of letting go before you're forced to. Most people wait until the pain is unbearable before they leave. They hold on long after the lesson is complete. But those who grow, they learn to let go early. They understand that holding on is not loyalty, it's fear. And fear always makes love heavier. There's a quiet kind of strength in walking away while you still care. In releasing what no longer serves your evolution. Robert Greene wrote, "The ability to withdraw from situations before they turn destructive is the ultimate form of mastery. Letting go isn't coldness, it's wisdom. It's saying, I deserve to feel light again, because no one ever tells you this. But love isn't supposed to hurt all the time. You're not meant to be exhausted by affection. You're meant to grow in its warmth, not drown in its weight." Effective affirmation. You are brave for walking away before it broke you completely. Letting go is not losing. It's returning to yourself. And self-return is the purest form of love there is. And as you let go, something strange happens. You stop craving closure, because you finally realize you don't need their apology. To make peace with your story, the silence you once feared has become your sanctuary. The love that once felt heavy has become your teacher, and the person you were chasing has become the person you finally found. Lesson 12. Stillness, the final stage of strength. Stillness is misunderstood. People think it's stagnation, the absence of progress, the pause before the next disaster. But stillness isn't weakness. It's inner alignment. It's the quiet that follows understanding. It's the calm that arrives after you stop fighting what already is. When you reach this stage, you stop chasing explanations. You stop replaying what went wrong. You no longer search for meaning in someone else's chaos, because you've found something deeper, the serenity that comes when nothing outside you can disturb the peace within. Carl Jung called this individuation, the integration of every shadow, fear, and longing into one balanced self. It's the point where you realize love isn't supposed to complete you, it's supposed to mirror you. And once you've seen that truth, you start loving differently, not from fear, not from lack, but from overflow. You love quietly, you speak less, you feel more. You no longer demand that others fill the silence, because silence to you now feels sacred. Machiavelli wrote, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. But the first method for estimating the peace of a soul is to look at how it behaves in solitude." The wise learn to enjoy their own company. They realize that stillness is the highest frequency of self-respect. It's where emotion turns into vision, and pain turns into wisdom. Effective affirmation. You don't need to chase anymore. You don't need to prove anymore. Stillness is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your power. You started with a heavy heart, carrying the weight of people who could never understand you. You walked through chaos, confusion, heartbreak, and silence. And yet you're still here. You didn't just survive the noise. You learned to turn it off. You learned that love without peace is a cage, and silence without fear is freedom. You discovered that solitude isn't loneliness. It's the birthplace of identity. You realized that the right love won't make you anxious. It will make you calm. That maturity isn't indifference. It's choosing peace even when chaos looks tempting. And most of all, you learned that silence is not the absence of connection. It's the presence of self. Look around you. Everyone is chasing someone, but very few are finding themselves. The ones who do, they move differently. They speak less, but mean more. They love slower, but deeper. They expect less, but give freely. Because they've understood the greatest paradox of all. When love feels heavy, it's not always because it's wrong. Sometimes it's because you're carrying what was never yours. And when silence feels safe, it's not loneliness. It's your heart remembering its natural rhythm. Robert Greene once said, "The ultimate form of power is self-possession, to be calm amidst chaos, unmoved by the opinions of others." That's where you are now. You've moved beyond needing to be understood. You've become the observer, not the reactor. The calm in the storm, not the storm itself. So the next time love feels heavy, don't rush to escape. Pause. Ask what it's teaching you. And when silence arrives, don't break it. Let it cradle you. Let it rebuild you. Let it remind you that peace is not something you find. It's something you remember. Because the truth is, when love feels heavy and silence feels safe, you're not losing anyone. You're just finally coming home to yourself.